There is a type of pain that does not scream. It does not cry for attention. It does not ask for help. It sits quietly inside the mind. If you are intelligent, you probably know this pain very well. You learned early how to stay quiet, how to stay composed, how to stay logical. You learned how to understand things instead of feeling them. And slowly, without realizing it, your mind became louder than your life. Smart people do not suffer because life is harder for them. They suffer because they see more than others. They see patterns, they see consequences, they see hidden meanings. And once you see too much, you cannot unsee it. A child touches fire once and learns not to touch again. A smart mind touches fire 1,000 times inside imagination. You replay moments, you replay mistakes, you replay conversations that already ended. Not because you enjoy it, but because your brain does not know how to stop. This is not madness. This is intelligence without rest. Most people think overthinking means thinking deeply. It does not. Overthinking is shallow thinking on repeat. The same thought again and again, different angles, same pain. And smart people are especially good at looping thoughts because they can always find another reason, another explanation, another what if. You are not anxious because you are weak. You are anxious because your brain works too well. It works even when it should rest. It works when nothing is happening. It works against you. Let me tell you something important. Your suffering did not start recently. It started the day you realized the world is complicated. Other people were playing, you were observing. Other people were reacting, you were analyzing. Other people were feeling, you were thinking about feelings. That is where the split happened. You stepped out of life and into your head. And once that happens, everything changes. Joy becomes delayed, pain becomes amplified, silence becomes heavy. You begin to live in anticipation instead of experience. You don't enjoy moments, you evaluate them. You don't rest, you prepare. You don't trust, you predict. And prediction is exhausting. Smart people are rarely present. Their body is here, their mind is 5 steps ahead. They are already planning what to say next, what could go wrong, how this could end. And the future is the most dangerous place to live, because the future exists only in imagination. And imagination does not care about your peace. It cares about possibilities. Every possible mistake, every possible rejection, every possible loss. A less intelligent mind chooses one story. A smart mind creates 1,000, and most of them are painful. This is why intelligence is closely connected to anxiety. Anxiety is not fear of now, it is fear of what might be. And who lives in what might be? Smart people. You think before you speak. You think after you speak. You think while others speak. Your brain never clocks out. And at night, when the world finally becomes quiet, your mind takes the stage. This is when suffering grows. You lie in bed, your body is tired, but your thoughts are awake. You remember something embarrassing from years ago as if it happened today. You imagine conversations that will never happen. You argue with people who are not even present. You fix problems that do not yet exist. This is not productivity. This is mental overwork. And here's the cruel part. Because you are smart, people expect you to handle it. They say, you are strong, you are intelligent, you will figure it out. So you don't complain, you don't collapse, you internalize. Smart people suffer quietly because they believe they should be able to handle it. But knowing how something works does not mean you are immune to it. A doctor can still get sick. A psychologist can still feel lost. An intelligent person can still break. In fact, they break differently, not outwardly, inwardly. They lose peace, they lose simplicity, they lose sleep, and slowly, they lose joy.
Because joy requires presence, and presence requires silence. A mind that never stops talking cannot hear happiness. You may have noticed this. Even when good things happen, you cannot fully enjoy them. You think, how long will this last? What could ruin this? What comes next? You never allow yourself to simply be okay. Your mind is always preparing for the fall. This is survival mode intelligence. Your brain learned that being alert keeps you safe, so it never relaxes. But safety without rest becomes suffering. Let me say something clearly. Your mind is not broken. It is doing exactly what it was trained to do. At some point, thinking helped you survive. It helped you adapt. It helped you understand people. It helped you avoid danger. But what saved you then is suffocating you now. This is the tragedy of smart people. They outgrow situations, but not habits. You learned to think your way out of pain, but some pain cannot be solved. Some pain must be felt and released. And smart people hate that, because feeling means losing control. Thinking feels safer. Thinking feels familiar. Thinking gives the illusion that you are in charge. But control is not peace. Control is tension. Peace comes from trust, and trust is difficult when you see too much. This is why smart people often feel tired even when they do nothing, because their mind is always doing something. You carry invisible weight. No one sees it, no one acknowledges it, but you feel it every single day. This is only the beginning, because intelligence doesn't just affect your thoughts, it affects your emotions, your relationships, your sense of self. And if this feels uncomfortably accurate, it means we are touching the truth. In the next part, we go deeper. We see how a smart mind slowly becomes a prison, not because it wants to hurt you, but because it does not know how to stop protecting you. And once you understand that, everything begins to change. A prison does not always have walls. Sometimes it has thoughts. Smart people rarely feel trapped by the world. They feel trapped by their own mind. From the outside, everything looks normal. You function, you work, you talk, you laugh when needed. But inside, there is constant pressure, a feeling that you cannot fully explain. It feels like you are always on edge, always alert, always one step away from something going wrong. This is how a smart mind slowly becomes a prison, not suddenly, not dramatically, quietly. It begins with awareness. You notice things other people ignore, a change in tone, a pause in a conversation, a look that lasts a second too long. You pick up information constantly. Your brain treats everything as data, and data must be processed. So you process. You ask, what did that mean? Why did they say it that way? Did I do something wrong? And once you start questioning, your mind does not stop. Because a smart mind always finds another angle, another explanation, another what if. This is how the walls begin forming. Each thought feels logical. Each worry feels reasonable. That's why it is so hard to escape. A simple mind doubts once. A smart mind doubts forever. You start reviewing your behavior, your words, your reactions. You criticize yourself before anyone else can. You believe that if you judge yourself first, others will not hurt you. This is not confidence. This is defense. Your mind becomes a courtroom where you are always on trial, and the judge is never satisfied. You replay moments in slow motion. Why did I say that? I should have stayed quiet. I sounded stupid. They probably think less of me. Even when no one else remembers, your mind does. Because smart minds have strong memory and weak forgiveness, especially towards themselves. Over time, this constant self-monitoring creates fear. Fear of speaking, fear of acting, fear of being seen. So you start shrinking, not physically, mentally. You become careful, too careful. You measure words, you delay decisions, you avoid risks. And slowly, life becomes smaller. This is the prison, not built by others, built by thought. The smart mind values control. Control feels safe. If you can predict everything, nothing can surprise you. But life cannot be predicted, so your brain works harder. It imagines worst-case scenarios to stay prepared. It thinks, if I expect pain, it will hurt less. But expecting pain does not reduce it, it multiplies it. You suffer in advance. You feel rejection before it happens. You feel failure before you try. You feel loss before anything is lost. This is called anticipatory suffering, and smart people are experts at it. Your mind believes this is responsibility. It is not. It is fear dressed as intelligence. The prison becomes stronger because it rewards you.
It fills it with worries, with questions, with imagined scenarios. This is why distraction feels relieving, but relief is temporary. Anxiety returns when distraction ends. Smart people often try to solve anxiety by understanding it. They read, they analyze, they think more. But anxiety does not disappear through thinking, because thinking created it. Anxiety needs reassurance, not explanation. Your brain is not asking for more information, it is asking for safety. But safety is not found in future prediction, it is found in present experience. Here is the painful contradiction. Intelligence lives in the future. Peace lives in the present. Smart people struggle to stay present. Their mind always pulls them ahead. What if? What next? What could go wrong? This constant forward motion creates restlessness. You cannot relax because relaxation feels unproductive. Your brain believes if you stop thinking, you lose control. But control is not calm. Control is effort. Calm is absence of effort. Smart people confuse effort with value. They believe effort equals safety, so they keep effort running even when it hurts. This is why intelligent people often experience functional anxiety. They work, they succeed, they perform, but they do not feel at ease. They carry tension even in success, because their mind never turns off. The smarter you are, the more convincing your fears sound. Your anxiety does not scream nonsense, it whispers logic. It says, this could happen, this might go wrong, this is realistic. And because you are intelligent, you listen, you trust your mind. But the mind does not always tell truth, it tells probability. And probability without grounding creates suffering. You are not afraid because something bad will happen. You are afraid because you can imagine it clearly. And imagination is powerful, but power without regulation is dangerous. In the next part, we will move into relationships, because nowhere does overthinking and anxiety hurt more than in connection with others. Attachment, love, fear of loss. This is where smart people feel pain most deeply. If intelligence causes overthinking, relationships expose it. Nowhere does a smart mind suffer more than in connection with another human, because relationships are unpredictable, and smart people hate unpredictability. You can understand systems, you can analyze ideas, you can solve problems, but you cannot fully understand people. And that scares an intelligent mind. So it starts working harder. You analyze texts, you analyze silence, you analyze behavior. You ask, what did that mean? Why did they say it like that? Did I say too much? Did I say too little? Love becomes a puzzle, and puzzles never end. Smart people do not love lightly. They attach deeply, because when they connect, they think about it fully. They imagine futures, they imagine outcomes, they imagine loss. They love with their mind before they love with their heart, and that creates vulnerability. You don't just feel emotions, you anticipate them. You feel pain
before it arrives. This is why intelligent people often experience anxious attachment, not because they are needy, but because they are aware. They know how easily people change. They know how fragile bonds are. They know how quickly connection disappears. So they stay alert. They monitor closeness. They monitor distance. They fear shifts. A delayed message feels like rejection. A short reply feels like withdrawal. A change in tone feels like loss. Your mind fills the gap with stories, not because you want drama, but because you seek certainty. And certainty is rare in human connection. Smart people crave clarity, but relationships live in ambiguity. This mismatch creates suffering. You might notice you think more after interactions. After conversations, your mind replays everything. You question yourself. Was I too much? Was I too quiet? Did I seem boring? Did I seem needy? You hold yourself responsible for the emotional outcome. You believe, if I say the right thing, this won't fall apart. This belief creates pressure. Pressure suffocates connection. And the more you care, the more you think. This is why smart people often feel emotionally exhausted after social interactions. Their mind does not rest when connection is involved. They are not just present, they are evaluating. You may feel lonely even when you are not alone, because your mind is never relaxed with others. You are always slightly guarded, because attachment means risk, and smart people understand risk. They know that loving deeply means the possibility of deep pain, so they try to manage love instead of experiencing it. They try to think their way through emotions, but emotions cannot be managed like ideas. They must be felt, and feeling requires vulnerability. Vulnerability means uncertainty. Uncertainty scares an intelligent mind. So smart people do one of two things. They overattach or they detach. Some cling mentally, some distance emotionally. Both are protection. Both create suffering. Overthinking in relationships is often misunderstood as caring, but caring is presence. Overthinking is fear. Fear of loss, fear of rejection, fear of not being enough. Smart people believe they are hard to love because they see their complexity. They think, if I'm this complicated, who will stay? This belief creates anxiety. Anxiety seeks reassurance. Reassurance never feels enough, because reassurance soothes emotion, not thought, and thoughts keep coming. You may notice that even when someone reassures you, your mind finds another doubt. What if they change? What if they leave? What if I'm a temporary choice? This does not mean you don't trust them. It means you don't trust permanence. Smart people understand impermanence. They know nothing lasts forever. That knowledge hurts in relationships, because love wants eternity, but intelligence sees endings. So smart people live in a paradox. They want deep connection, but they fear deep loss. This creates inner conflict. You want closeness, but closeness activates fear. You want love, but love triggers overthinking, and overthinking slowly erodes joy. You might find yourself holding back emotions, not because you don't feel them, but because you don't want to overwhelm others. You analyze your own intensity, you edit yourself, you become less visible, and this creates another pain, feeling unseen. Smart people often feel misunderstood, not because others don't care, but because they don't express freely. They hide complexity. They simplify themselves to be accepted. This creates internal loneliness, being with people, but not fully known. This loneliness hurts deeply. In the next part, we will explore that loneliness, why smart people often feel alone, even when surrounded, and why the mind that understands everyone often feels understood by no one. Loneliness is not always being alone. Sometimes it is being surrounded and still feeling unseen. Smart people experience this kind of loneliness often. not because they lack people, but because they lack resonance. They understand many, but feel understood by few. Their mind operates on a different frequency. They notice things others ignore. They question things others accept. They feel things others dismiss. This difference creates distance, not physical distance, emotional distance. In conversations, you may feel slightly out of place. You listen carefully. You respond thoughtfully, but something feels missing. The depth you feel does not meet depth in return. This creates quiet frustration. You don't want to sound intense. You don't want to overwhelm, so you hold back. You simplify your thoughts. You speak less than you think. And when you do that long enough, you start feeling invisible. Smart people often feel lonely because they edit themselves. They hide complexity to fit in. They lower depth to avoid being misunderstood. But this comes at a cost. The cost is connection. Real connection requires authenticity, but authenticity feels risky when you're different. You might fear labeled too serious, too intense, too complicated. So you keep your inner world private, and privacy becomes isolation. This is why smart people often prefer solitude, not because they dislike people, but because solitude feels safer than partial connection. Being alone hurts less than being misunderstood, but long-term solitude creates another pain, the pain of not being known. Smart people carry rich inner worlds, thoughts, ideas, emotions. When these are not shared, they stagnate, and stagnation feels